faster. Honda has really done the Talon a favor.
It has been 5 years since the Honda Talon took the side-by-side world by storm. When it dropped, the 2019 Honda Talon was one of the best sport rigs out there. With a 1000cc parallel twin and a 6-speed dual-clutch gearbox taken straight out of the Africa Twin adventure bike, it had about 100 horsepower and row-your-own gears in a light, nimble package that no one had seen before. Best of all, it was and still is cheap. The 2024 Honda Talon behind me starts at just $20,000 bucks. That is an insane deal. And as if that wasn't enough, it's always been available with Fox live valve suspension, which senses the terrain as you drive and tightens up or loosens up in response to what's going on around you. But the side-by-side world has moved on a ton in the last 5 years, and that means the Talon is now starting to lag just a little bit behind the rest of the competition, especially when you look at the interior and some of the fit and finish. But Honda made big changes to the rig last year, adding the wider desert-focused R trim to the 4-seat model and making sure that live valve was standard on those R 4-seaters. But we still thought it needed a little bit of a boost to meet the rising tide set by its competitors. The interiors are starting to look dated, and Honda insists on shipping the Talons with 27-inch tires up front and 28s out back when the rest of the world has moved on to 30s. We've talked about everything we think they should do to fix the Talon. There's a whole other video on that. And just today we asked Honda engineers when they might see a big update for the Talon, and they were pretty tight-lipped, but there is something in the works. This year Honda's made another big update to the old Talon by putting Showa shocks on all 4 corners. You can still get the Fox Live Valve Edition, but Honda has ditched the Fox manually adjustable QS3s in favor of Showa, who make the suspension on their motocross bikes. Honda tells us that the new suspension is more adjustable, is more supple and comfortable, but still has the same bottom-out resistance as the old Fox stuff. The old Fox QS3 shocks on the base model Talon were 3-way adjustable, but the new shocks are 12-way slow-speed compression adjustable with 4.5 clicks of high-speed compression adjustment. Now, you have to have a tool to do all that, but it's really nice to see that much more customization. The travel is the same at 17 inches roundabout up front and about 20 inches out back. That's the same travel as the old manually adjustable Fox suspension, so this rig should be just as capable, if not more, than the old one. Honda is so excited about the Showas on the Talon that they invited us out to Johnson Valley, California to do about 80 miles of driving. This is the home of King of the Hammers, so if you're going to test suspension, this is the place to do it. We're gonna find out. Did Honda fix the Talon?
Let's just take a quick look around the rig. New 2024 Honda Talon 1004. The Showa stuff comes on the base model, so this doesn't have live valve or anything like that. This all feels very familiar to anyone who's been in a Talon because none of this has changed. There's that familiar Honda noise. I've always liked the rumble from the Honda Parallel Twin. It's a really nice sounding mill. We're in 2-wheel drive right now. We're in high gear, put her in sport mode, and roll out. We're gonna switch rigs throughout the day, so I'll get to test out a 2-door later. Oh yeah, it's a Honda Talon, baby. It's shifting gears. I have gears. Respect to everybody who makes a side-by-side with a CVT, but I love gears. Suspension feels great. We're not hauling the mail by any means. Yeah, it feels good. You can tell that they actually did spend some time making sure that it's got a really progressive suspension travel, so it gets stiffer as you go deeper into the travel, but right off the top of the stroke in the shock, it's very compliant. So all these chundery little bumps and whoops and baby head rocks are pretty well smoothed out. You don't get jarred around like you would on suspension that's stiff everywhere. So you might want something a little bit stiffer if you're just going to be going flat out all the time through the desert. But in a 4-seater like this, you don't want that. You want to feel some of that stuff, but mostly you don't want to get your fillings rattled out. Initial impressions, very nice. All right, we have switched to a 2-door R model. So that means we've gone from 64 inches wide on the X to 68 inches wide on the R. We've gone from 2 seats to 4. So we got a little bit more rotation, a little bit quicker handling, and this thing feels way faster. Still the same base model Showa suspension. The same machine, except it's wider and shorter. It's a whole lot more fun, except when I can't see anything. You gotta be on your game a little bit more because if it changes direction more quickly, slides are a little less progressive. If you want a Talon to go fast in, this is the one. The settings on this rig are the same as the one we got out of. Got a nice amount of compliance over little bumps and baby heads, and has a nice progressive stroke. So when you get down close to the bottom of the suspension, it soaks up the bumps a whole lot better. Honda has really done the Talon a favor here. If you just want to go bopping around the 105 horsepower Talon is a great way to get into it, and the new suspension makes that even better. And if you must have Fox, the live valve is still the live valve, so you can go and get your electronic suspension. That rig at almost 25,000 bucks is still a deal. I don't know if you need it. This thing's so good. The two-door is a lot louder and a lot hotter than the four-door. In the two-door, you are quite literally sitting on the engine. It's an open cab, so that's not a huge deal. It's not oppressively noisy or oppressively hot in here, but it's definitely something to make note of. We just stopped for a water break. One of Honda's engineers went another half a turn or so out on our high-speed compression settings to calm the chatter down in some of these pumps. As we've loosened the suspension up, the traction has gotten higher and higher, which is making the machine more predictable, frankly, faster. Whoa! And the result is a really fun side-by-side.
We've gone almost 40 miles in the new Honda Talon 1000 X4 with the Showa shocks. This thing is great. All of our old complaints still apply. It has a little bit of a snatchy throttle, the interior is not up to the appointments of some of the competitors, and you notice the tiny tires. I'd love to have 30s, I'd love to have throttle modes, and I'd love to have a nicer interior. Having said all that, I have some thoughts. One, this new suspension is excellent. There are 12 clicks of low-speed compression adjustment, 4.5 clicks of high-speed compression adjustment. That means that you can get out of the rig and make sure you get it dialed into the terrain you're riding. It's not as slick as live valve, but it's also much cheaper. That brings me to the price. We're looking at a rig that costs under $23,000, and it's a great machine out of the gate. We've been ripping on it all day. Even though we don't have a stereo and we don't have air conditioning, we don't have a windshield, we're super comfortable. Honda does that very well. The seats are very nice. They're not made of the nicest material, but they are gonna hold up, and I haven't noticed them. Paramount for seats. If you don't notice them underneath you, that means you're not uncomfortable, and if you're not uncomfortable, you're comfortable. The dual clutch transmission is super fun to play with. It does get a little confused in deep sandy stuff, but really, this is an entry-level sport machine. It's not a Can-Am Maverick R. It's not really for desert racing right out of the box, but for you and your family to go putz around in, it's great fun. You can shift your own gears, you can put it in automatic mode, you can put it in sport automatic mode if that just raises the shift points, and it's great all around. In the rocks, it's fantastic. We'd love to see throttle modes because the throttle is still a little snatchy in rocks, and the new Showa suspension from the factory setting is pretty stiff for doing anything rock crawly. Otherwise, it's great. That brings us to our final question. Did Honda fix the Talon? Well, no, but I would say in this case it doesn't really matter because you're still getting amazing value for money. You're getting 105 horsepower, you are getting a proven powertrain. That parallel twin is great, the DCT is super stout, people put thousands of miles on them in adventure bikes and they hold up. You're getting Honda quality and you're getting a great fun machine at a really low entry-level price. Added to that, it's not some huge, wide, desert-only ripper. The X is nice and narrow. It's the trail model. It's made for any terrain you throw at it. That means it's nimble. It's easy to drive. You can easily get 4 people in there, so it is a sport machine for people who want to go out and have fun. They don't need utility, but they're also not trying to go 100 miles an hour through a whoop section. So to wrap all that up, the Showa suspension has made the Honda Talon more comfortable. It's an important but small update in a rig that is starting to show its age. Honda has said that there is an update coming. They won't say when, they won't say how big, and they won't say exactly what that update's going to look like. But if you're in the market for a Honda Talon, we would switch to the 2024, get the new suspension. It's super comfortable, it's super adjustable, and it's really great. If you want to know more about the Honda Talon, head over to UTVDriver.com where we've got news, reviews, and buyer's guides 5 days a week, and then hit us on social media 7 days a week. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're here on YouTube. We want to see you in all those places. Hit us up.